I've carried this secret for years now, long enough that it feels like a second skin, something I can't peel off no matter how hard I try. It started innocently enough, or at least, that's what I tell myself when the guilt becomes unbearable. Back then, I didn't think much of it. I was just trying to help someone who seemed desperate. But desperation has a way of warping things, doesn't it? You start out thinking you're doing the right thing, but before you know it, you're knee-deep in something you can't undo. That's where it all began, with Simon. He wasn't a bad guy, not really, but he had ambition coursing through him like a river flooding its banks. And me? Well, I let him drag me along for the ride. Simon approached me one afternoon after work, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hey," he said, glancing over his shoulder to make sure no one else was around. "Can we talk?" We stepped into the supply closet, ironic, hiding in plain sight while planning something so underhanded. He explained that he needed my help with a project, something minor, he assured me. Just a few answers here and there, nothing major. At first I hesitated. I mean, I knew it was wrong, but Simon had this way about him. He could sell sand in the desert if he wanted to. Before I knew it, I'd agreed, convincing myself it was harmless. After all, what harm could come from helping a friend? It wasn't long before those few answers turned into more significant requests. Simon grew bolder, pushing boundaries I didn't even realize existed until they were crossed. By then, though, I felt trapped. Every time I considered backing out, he'd remind me how much he depended on me, how crucial my help was to his success. And selfishly, I liked being needed. For once, someone looked up to me, relied on me. So I kept going, rationalizing every decision with lies I told myself. Lies like, it's just business, or no one will get hurt. But deep down, I knew better. Deep down, I understood that every step forward was another thread unraveling my integrity. There came a moment when everything shifted, a point of no return. Simon asked me to falsify documents, to outright lie for his benefit. I remember standing in the hallway, heart pounding, sweat prickling the back of my neck. This was different. This wasn't just bending the rules anymore. This was breaking them entirely. Yet I nodded anyway. Why? Because saying no would have meant admitting I'd already gone too far, and I wasn't ready to face that truth yet. Instead, I chose the easier path, the coward's path, and sealed my fate. Things spiraled quickly after that. What started as small favors escalated into full-blown fraud. And then, inevitably, people started noticing. Whispers turned into accusations, and soon the entire foundation we'd built began to crumble. Simon panicked, blaming everyone but himself, and I disappeared into the shadows, hoping no one would connect the dots back to me. But secrets have a way of finding the light, don't they? Even now, I can feel the weight of it pressing down on me, suffocating me. Every knock at the door makes my stomach churn. Every phone call sends a jolt of fear through my veins. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the world to realize what I've done. You'd think I'd run out of excuses by now, wouldn't you? But no, the mind is an endless factory for justifications when it needs them. I told myself that Simon was going to succeed anyway, whether with my help or without it. That I wasn't really changing anything, I was just smoothing the path. And besides, who was I hurting? The company? They were too big to notice. My coworkers? They barely acknowledged me most days. It felt like I was living in some gray area where morality didn't apply, where the rules were flexible if your intentions were good enough. But deep down, I knew better. Those rationalizations were just band-aids on a wound that refused to heal. Every lie, every act of complicity, chipped away at something inside me, a part of me I wasn't sure I could ever get back. It's funny how betrayal sneaks up on you. You don't see it coming because you're too busy convincing yourself that everyone's playing fair. That's what happened with Simon. One day he was my friend, the guy I'd do anything for, and the next he was cutting ties, leaving me holding the bag while he walked away unscathed. He got everything he wanted, the promotion, the recognition, the life he'd always dreamed of. And me, I was left to pick up the pieces, to deal with the fallout. When I confronted him, his response cut deeper than any knife. "You chose this," he said, his voice cold and detached. "Don't put this on me." Maybe he was right. Maybe I did choose this. But knowing that didn't make it hurt any less. After everything fell apart, I found myself retreating further and further into solitude. Crowds made me uneasy, not because of the noise or the bodies pressing against me, but because of the fear that someone might recognize me, might know what I'd done. Even in silence, though, I couldn't escape the voices in my head. They whispered constantly, reminders of every misstep, every compromise. Friends stopped calling, colleagues avoided me, and family, well, they didn't understand. How could they? I hadn't told them the truth, not fully. Instead, I became a ghost, drifting through life without purpose or direction. The world kept spinning, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. There comes a moment when the weight becomes unbearable, when the lies and guilt press down so hard you can't breathe. For me, that moment came here, in this park, on this bench. I sat there for hours, watching the sun dip below the horizon, feeling the cold seep into my bones. I thought about running, leaving everything behind and starting over somewhere new. But where would I go? Who could I be if not the man who helped someone cheat for their own gain? The truth is, I couldn't outrun myself. No matter how far I went, the memories would follow. So instead of running, I stayed. I stayed and faced the emptiness, hoping that somehow, someday, I'd find a way to forgive myself. And now here I am, confessing all of this to you, not because I expect forgiveness, but because carrying it alone has become impossible. I don't know why I'm telling you specifically. Maybe because strangers have a way of listening without judgment, or maybe because speaking these words aloud makes them real in a way they haven't been before. Either way, I need to say it. I helped someone cheat, and in doing so, I cheated myself. I lost pieces of who I was, trading them for scraps of validation and fleeting moments of pride. Was it worth it? Not even close. If I could go back, I'd do things differently. I'd stand up, speak out, refuse to be complicit. But I can't change the past. All I can do is live with it, carry it, and hope that sharing my story will prevent someone else from making the same mistakes.